ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, and the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing welcome you to Daytona.
Well, welcome to another episode of the Wookie Automotive Racin Ramblin podcast. Kind of a different setup this week. I'm recording this straight on the laptop mic this week because I am stuck in Indianapolis in the hotel without my recording equipment because rain. Race is going to be on Monday at 10 o'clock now. It's been a long weekend with pretty much nothing to do. I don't really know how to describe it. It's hasn't been a productive weekend. Just mainly due to the rain. Saying multiple times. 13 cars never got to hit the track in Cup or Xfinity. Race was supposed to be today at 1 o'clock for Cup, and of course it rained out. About the time of 30 minutes before green flag, it started misting, and then it started raining. It was just that. See, I might have to turn down the mic just a little bit. It looks like it's peaking just a little bit. But, anyways, yeah, it hasn't. So, been Sunday, I'm wandering around a bunch and around the hotel. Really nothing to do. Watch NFL. Watching IMSA right now, and they finally got it clean and green. They had 3 cautions in the first 30 minutes. Destroyed some cars before he even got to the start-finish line, and destroyed some more on the restart before they got to the start-finish line. And then they got a couple laps in before on that restart before Jordan Taylor transmission locked it or blew out and got stuck on the hill. But yeah, all I can really say is that really nothing going on. Haven't even raced yet. It's been cold. It's been raining. It's just been kind of miserable. Luckily I didn't waste the whole day at the track just standing there doing nothing. The Cup guys did, and they'll do that tomorrow. It's just not been a fun weekend. And to top it all off, just the logistics for this week are going to be hell. Going to Las Vegas next week. Oh yeah, about that. So we're supposed to leave Tuesday at noon to go to Las Vegas with the haulers. Now it's looking like if we can at least get everything out the door Tuesday night. Because, oh boy, this is going to be a long, miserable week. 13 cars should be pretty well easy to go. Just throw some TV package stuff, fuel cell, it'll be ready to go. 66, we sent the backup motor back with the 13 car because it missed the show because of the rain. And Austin Dillon has past champions provisional. So we went ahead and sent the backup motor off the trailer in the gooseneck with that car so they can put the backup motor in the 66 car. And then we're just trying to figure out what the hell we're going to do with the 40 car right now. I haven't heard anything since this morning. This is just the small team logistics. We're not the only ones. BJ's and Jimmy Means, they're going back and going to have to swap cars around, maybe have to rebuild them. JP Motorsports, they're going straight to Las Vegas after the race. They're sending the guys back with the van, loading the van up with parts for Las Vegas, and then they're going to try to slam the 2 cars together in the parking lot at South Point and the day before the race. No, it's just the logistics are not fun right now. And then you got to drive back and have everything flipped around in 2 days to go to Richmond. This is the worst possible scenario NASCAR could have possibly faced in terms of logistics. Just, hey, it rained all week long. Can't race till hopefully Monday. And Monday's looking pretty good right now. just put a lot of strain on these teams that didn't really need to. I know a lot of the big teams, they put their Las Vegas cars on the haulers, had them ready to go. So they're going to send their hauler drivers straight on, but we don't got that luxury. We trying to run a 4-car team in the back of the pack, and just you got to have stuff separate because we're running a special package just for Indianapolis. Yeah, and then of course when we come back for Richmond, you got to have short track cars sitting there. So it's a lot of work in a short amount of time. I want to mind the trip out west, but we needed a week before and after, or this trip needed to be lumped together with Phoenix and Texas. But they didn't do that. They made it middle of this busy stretch of races, and on top of that, they didn't even have any foresight to possibly change it for next year. They kept the schedule the same, and we're doing the same thing next year. So yeah, here's hoping till we have no rain next year, because the worst has not yet come this week. So I'm going to try to get this podcast out tonight because of this. It's gonna be hell. That's the only way I gotta say about it. It's not looking fun. It's just, yeah, and that's pretty much all I got to say about NASCAR this week. News. Might as well get into news because we don't got any racing to talk about because cars haven't even hit the track this week. And that's just where we're at. Of course, there was the announcement of the closure of Furniture Road Racing at the end of the year. It was kind of everyone. I kind of suspected this was going to happen. I know Barney's had some heart issues in the past year. The sponsorship dollars can have to get ramped up more and more. There was some speculation that Gibbs has outpriced them, and they couldn't keep the funding together. They could. He did, of course. Now that they're at the level that they're at, he didn't want to have to go back to a Childers or a Hendrick and have to not compete for championships where they are now. So I think the decision was made that just gotta call it quits. They've done what they can to win, but it's just the fact of the matter is that you got the defending champion announcing that they're closing up because they can't keep the funding going to compete with where they're at. I know some people say this has been unprecedented, and it kind of is, but we did see this back in 1990. Blue Max Racing, Rusty Wallace's team at the time, won the championship in 1989. And then 2 years later, they were out of the sport. Let me see. But yeah, he basically made basically Rusty went back to Penske at the end of that year, and and the sponsorship was tied to Rusty, not the team. So the team ended up folding at the end of the year. Although the little bit of research I've done, I think I've read up on this a little bit. Essentially, the Blue Max NASCAR team, because keep in mind, Blue Max was primarily an NHRA team, not a NASCAR team, but they had been in the sport from pretty much the 80s. That sort of became Penske Racing South, from what I understand. And will we see that with Furniture Row? As of right now, it's looking like Levine Family Racing's got to take over the role that Furniture Row's been having, but I don't see them being the powerhouses that Furniture Row is, because as of right now, Furniture Row, Cole Pern, and Martin Truex, sponsor Bass Pro Shops. It appears that they're going to go to the 19 car. Bass Pro will probably sponsor for about half the races, and then they'll probably fill in the rest. And looks like there might be some contractual issues that Eris has to be on so many races for next year. So the funding isn't that big of a deal, but I'm sure it's going to be cheaper than what it was going to have to be for it to be a Furniture Row deal. What with the reports, like it was an Apex turn, had admitted, had claimed, basically pretty much the bill was going to get tripled, for according to that article. I don't know how much truth there is. I haven't really I got a friend of mine that works for Furniture Row, but I used to go to school with, but I haven't really pestered him about it. It's just he's got his future. He's got bigger things to worry about than me asking questions online. Hey man, what's going on? What do you hear? It's like, nah, I don't need to be doing that. It just that guy has to figure out what he's gonna do for his future. Him and his wife uprooted from Ohio to Colorado, and now they got to figure out what he's got to do. Probably has to move to North Carolina and get a job somewhere else. That's a big move, and yeah, it just that's going to be the real shame is what happens to the crew guys. But those guys won a championship a year ago, so they should be all right. But anyways, the rumor of Daniel Suarez goes to the 95, which they'll probably be like a top 20, top 15 team, probably where Daniel's running right now. I don't see them being the powerhouse that Furniture Row was. The 95 team will probably most definitely step up, but what they are now, although this year has been a real disappointment with their Hendrick support and Casey Kane. And actually, there's some stuff to talk about right there, but I'll save that transition. But yeah, that is basically the hot rumor right now is that Truex and Colburn and Bass Pro Shops in the 19, Daniel Suarez slides over to the 95, then that becomes the satellite team. And then now the transition, Casey Kane, basically got severely dehydrated, heat exhaustion last Sunday night in the Southern 500, and I will say that Darlington is probably one of the toughest races all year. It's one of the hardest races all year, and basically he's still suffering effects from that and is having to sit out this weekend and possibly next weekend at Las Vegas. He's not 100%, and the doctors pretty much told him, and I think it was more of he stepping out of the seat, just trying to get himself healed up. Super sub Regan Smith takes over the 95 for this at least this week. So good for him. Good to see Regan back in a halfway decent Cup car. And then Casey has gone on to say that his health has sort of declined the last couple of years, and looks like we got another caution coming up for Himza. One of the Turner BMWs is stopped on the track. But anyways, basically Casey said that had admitted at the track that his health is one of the reasons why he chose to retire from NASCAR racing. Basically, he can't recover like he used to, and it's taken a lot takes a lot out of him, and basically, it's hit its tipping point this weekend or in the past week. So yeah, and I don't blame him. The sprint car races are 40, 50 laps. They're on short tracks. They're a lot compared to the long endurance races of the Cup Series. The sprint car races are usually pretty quick, so he's pretty much he's going to have fun. He's not going to push himself to try to stay in the sport. He's won a bunch of races. He's been a real popular driver for the sport, and he's going to do he's pretty much done what he can in NASCAR, and now he's got one of the most successful sprint car teams in the country right now, and he's going to retire and go have fun with that. So good for him. Looking at more news, also Matt Benedetto has announced that he will not be in the 32 car next year. He's seeking other possibilities and hope. Nothing signed yet. That was the big key right here that he admitted. But he's looking for basically he's hoping for a chance like early in his career he had with Gibbs in the 18 car part time. He kind of cited Ryan Preece right now, and there was another one that he quoted. But basically he's looking at try to get a deal like that, compete for a couple wins a year in Xfinity or something, and then hopefully that'll lead to something bigger and better later on down the road. Now, keep in mind, he did get his his NASCAR career started in for Gibbs. He was a test driver for many years for them. Say he drove part time in 2009 for Gibbs in the K&N series, got 2 wins, and then he drove pretty much a chunk of the independent races in 2010 in the Xfinity series, Nashville, Road America, Gateway, RP, Iowa, and then that deal kind of fell through, and then he went basically back to the bottom. Spent a couple years driving for TMG, Curtis Key in Nationwide Series and starting park roles. Kind of moved his way up to the primary driver, and then he went to BK and Cup, and then just kind of been exhalation on from there. So, and then the last couple of years, of course, he's taken over the 32 role over at Go Fast. Done a real good job for that small organization. That team, they got like a tiny little shop over in Mooresville, like 5,000 square foot shop. They got like probably 15, 20, maybe 15, 20 guys that work for them, but they do a lot for it. The little bit they got some halfway decent Roush cars, and they're there trying to compete for top 25s, top Steel Cup, top 20s, and possibly top 10s throughout the year. So they do a lot for the little bit they got. They got some good sponsors in Can-Am and Zynga and Corvette Parts. Of course, I believe the Corvette Parts is leaving at the end of the year, or that's the end of their contract. Now, who takes over that role for next year? I think all signs point to Joey Gase. He was supposed to be in Cup this year, but they decided he wanted to go get some halfway competitive equipment in Xfinity for their budget. He's done a pretty good job, but he just hasn't been in. Ross Chastain's just been a little bit better. But Joey has done pretty good in Bobby Dutter equipment. Now next year, I see him taking that whole sponsorship group, the Sparks, the Donate Life, and they're filling in all the sponsorship holes in 32. And I don't know I think he's eligible for Rookie of the Year. Let me look at. I know he's run part time for a long time in Cup the last few years. Looking at it, and yeah, I think he'll run for Rookie of the Year. I think he doesn't run more than 7 races throughout a year, stuff like that. So, but yeah, there's one of your Rookie of the Year competitors for next year is Joey Gase on 32 car. Looking down I'm just scrolling down the front page of J-Ski right now. See, dead air. Yeah, it looks like just a bunch of little sponsorship deals, body armor with a multi-year deal, Team Penske and Ryan Blaney, just part-time role. Kevin Harvick announcing that he's done with Xfinity after his little spat with Ross Chastain last week. That was everyone kind of got a kick about that. So, Biker Racing returning to racing. It was no secret. They bought some Cup cars and equipment from BK during the whole auction process. Then making their grand return this week at Las Vegas at the dirt track at the K&N, running a South African driver. Intend to run in Cup and Xfinity at some point towards the end of the year, and with full time in Cup, Xfinity, and K&N next year. So I don't really know how Victor can do that. Their shop is pretty quiet right now. They're right there in the drag park if you're ever down there, and there was only one car parked there during the day. So I'm kind of curious what's all this big news. I'm sure the K&N deal is that he's partnered with a existing team, use their equipment, bring his driver over there. He's got a South African driver running for him. So the real test is see if he actually anything shows up for Daytona or for Las Vegas at the dirt track. And that race is gotta be a mess. It's just a big market employ, I believe, to try to bring views and car counts up for K&N. But the trucks have something special, and I just feel they're trying to at Eldora, and I just feel they're just trying to use that formula and try to force it on the K&N to try to make that work. But K&N needs all the help they can, so maybe I'm just talking out my butt. I don't like the move. I just think I think they got a perfectly good 3/8 mile asphalt track sitting there at Las Vegas that K&N could have had a great undercard event for this weekend, and they decided to have it on the dirt track instead. So just wait and see what happens there. Looking at trucks real quick. Just they're off for another week. What actually raced this week? A lot of entry level stuff. Cars was at Orange County. Josh Berry got another win in the late model stock. Then Super Lates, Kyle Plott got his first real win after a bunch of argy-bargy pushing and shoving, joining Stephen Wallace, Matt Craig, and Raphael Lassard. And then Orange County announced they got a big, in cars announced they got that race. They're putting down $30,000 to win next year on the weekend of the night race at Bristol. So that ought to be a pretty big event, big money event. So kind of curious to see how that event next year. That's a lot of money for a late model race. So anytime you can put up that kind of money, people will come. Modifieds raced at the Riverhead, popular quarter mile over in New York. Justin Bosignor continued his dominance, won over Timmy Solomito, Chase Dallin, Doug Kobe, Dave Sapienzo. Bosignor is 79-point lead over Chase Dallin. He's gone. He's gone. I think there's only like 1 or 2 races left, and 3 races left. They got the 250 lap event at Loudon coming up 2 weeks, and then and it's just 3 traditional northern events right in a row. The 250 lap Musket 250 at Loudon, being touted as the biggest modified event in history. And then the fall final 150 at Stafford Springs, and then finishing out the year on October 14th, Sunoco World Series at Thompson. So 3 fantastic northeastern events. I think Justin just has to not show up to lose this championship. The Pinty Series ran at Autodrome Saint Eustache and Quebec. I'm sure I butchered that real bad. But Marc-Antoine Cameron came away with the win. His first career win. So good to see him, a new face in victory lane. He almost drove for us a couple years ago. Of course, he drove for Derek White in 2015, one of our partners at the time. And then has kind of spent a couple years kind of off, and then kind of came back. And then, of course, getting his first win. So it's good to see Mark get his first win. Alex Tagliani finished second, Cole Powell third, Kerry Mix fourth, and Mark's teammate Donald Theetage finished fifth. Looking at the points for the Pinty's guys right now, LP Dumoulin now sits on a 5-point lead over Alex Tagliani, the IndyCar veteran. So that championship battle is shaping up to be a real good one. Cole Powell's third, DJ Kennington fourth, and Marc-Antoine Cameron fifth. Looking at the end of their schedule coming up, they got two events coming up. They got the sorry, tripping over my words there, but same weekend as the Musket 250 for modifieds. Pinty Series running their first United States event, running a 100-lapper that weekend. Also going to be there is K&N East running the 100-lapper, and I believe there's going to be late models running there too. And then their schedule wraps up on September 29th at the end of this month at Jacusa, the beautiful track. They ran their Canadian short track nationals last year, and I guess they installed the same state-of-the-art lighting that Martinsville has, and they've dumped a lot of money into that track. I heard a lot of people call it's the track tobacco built or rebuilt. A lot of people in the tobacco industry up in Canada basically just fell in love with the sport and really pumping a lot of money into the track and the sport up in Canada. And next year, I think it's supposed to be 100 grand Canadian to win the short track Canadian Nationals. It's just crazy amounts of money. That's just fantastic. Bring it on. And basically, there's a lot of people that hadn't been up to Jacusa since they redid it, and basically it was like, oh man, this place is nice. It's just honestly, they could hold a fucking National Series NASCAR event here. I heard some people talk, so that's coming up. Coming up next week. Yeah, I might as well wrapping her up a little bit. It's gonna be a short podcast this week. I'm only at 28 minutes right now. Trucks Friday night, Xfinity Saturday, Cup on Sunday, all running Las Vegas at the second Las Vegas weekend. I don't mind the second event weekend, but I will reiterate, I do not like the scheduling of this event. That's the first race at the start of the chase because you're forcing the teams to go out west 2 times. It just and then for the Xfinity guys, you're making them go all the way out to come all the way back. It doesn't make sense. It's just, and right now we're sitting at the worst possible moment where rain delayed the week before on Monday, and now you're forcing those teams to slam some stuff together to get out there. It's not a good situation. I believe you're going to see some Xfinity cars fall apart next week, just from people trying to get their things out the door just to make it out west in time. But basically, yeah, that. K&N West running their Star Nursery 100 Thursday night at the dirt track at Las Vegas. Just scroll down. Also next week, I believe the Wayland Euro Series runs their their second to last party there. Second to last weekend of the year, running at the Hockenheim Ring. Frederick Gabillon sits at a 28-point lead over Alain Day, Lucas Lasser third, Thomas Ferrando fourth, and Gianmarco Orcoli fifth. Also, I forgot to talk about ARCA because ARCA's race also got postponed. They went ahead and postponed it to because pretty much there was no chance they were going to get their race in at IRP this weekend. So they went ahead and postponed it a month. So that ought to be a pretty fun show right there. And they had some big names entered. See, I should pull up an entry list real quick. Oh wow, they changed the website again. This is hard to. This feels like half a website. This is not. Oh wow. Oh my god. Oh, but the entry list. It's not even in list form. It's just all the names. This is not a good redesign at all. Guys who were supposed to run this weekend in ARCA, Harrison Burton for MDM, Chase Briscoe running the second car for Chad Bryant. Down, Sam Mayer running the A car for MDM. So that's two extra cars. Thad Moffitt making his return for Empire. Michael Self running for Venturini. JJ Pack running his own car for himself. We got Mike Basham, local boy, son of Daryl Basham. Carson Harsevar, super late standout, Michigan, was entered. DL Wilson running a third car for Hillenberg, one car. Eric Caudell making a return for Hickson. Rick Clifton running 11 for Hillenberg. Jonas Force, Wayland Euro Series driver, supposed to run for the Kimballs. Caden Honeycutt running the second car for Empire. Bobby Gerhardt was supposed to be there. Scott Melton running his own car. That's a new name. And CJ McLaughlin was supposed to run for the 10 car for Hillenberg. So pretty decent looking field, but I see how badly that field takes a hit during the postponement. But anyways, ARCA is running next week in Salem. I believe that race is live on MAV TV. Watch it. One of the best races of the year. Crown jewel event for ARCA. Salem's a fantastic track. It's a damn shame that Winchester got taken off this year. But you talk about 40-year-old asphalt, 35 degrees of banking. It's a brutal event. Salem is a place where you can really gauge talent at because it is a tough place. It's a tough old girl. There's distinct lines there just because of the age of the asphalt. Fantastic event. IndyCar comes back with their grand finale. Double points at Sonoma on last race at Sonoma. Sonoma's never really produced fantastic races. I believe for IndyCar, it's just I don't know. It just the way the track was. But then again, Portland produced a fantastic race. Mid-Ohio produced a fantastic race. Barber's been pretty good for years. So, but anyways, Alexander Rossi needs Scott Dixon to have a problem in order for him to win the championship. This is Scott Dixon's championship to lose once again. Scott Dixon's Jimmy Johnson of IndyCar. He incredible luck he had at Sonoma or at Portland. Formula One returns for night race at Singapore. Lewis Hamilton extended his point lead at Monza. Vettel really needs him to have some problems. Keep Raikkonen third in points now. So I didn't notice that last week, so good for him. Fiat Supercars starts off their endurance schedule with the Sandown 500. They're on a throwback weekend. Shane Van Gisbergen sitting on a 19-point lead over Scott McLaughlin. McLaughlin he's had some a lot of luck not go his way, and the same thing happened to him last year. Really needs to turn it around and put together a good endurance championship. I really want to see McLaughlin win just because I'm so tired of Triple Eight winning all the time. But Shane Gisbergen, he's on his game. He's the guy to beat right now. It was great to see him get to the level he's at right now after so years. He was always the guy for years that was just on the verge but didn't really have the team behind him. He drove for Stone Brothers, was really starting to come in his own, and then they went away. And then he went over to Techno Autosport and really outperformed over for those guys. Let's see what we got. Cars is coming up next for South Boston, all the way in November, so that's a long ways away. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for this week. It's kind of a short one. Audio quality is going to be crap because I'm recording this on the laptop mic and not my regular microphone. So yeah, try to wind this down. Kind of gray, miserable weekend, and I just want to get it over with so I can get on the road for Las Vegas. Thank you for listening. I got a new Wookie drive. It's finally up. Actually, let's talk about that a little bit. Did a Jeep Renegade. Got to talk about current Chrysler at the moment a little bit. Cars. It's a good little car. A lot of quirks. A lot of Jeep capability and flair, and a very boring segment. So there's a reason why they're selling a crap ton of those little Renegades. It's because it's not an amorphous blob. It's a Fiat 500 with a boxy body. So I know some of you guys will go back talking about racing, but I'm a car nerd and it takes my mind off of it sometimes. I'm currently scripting the other one, so it'll probably take me another 3 weeks to get that one out. But yeah, I got another one coming up. It's probably got to be 2 to 3 weeks before that one's up, especially with this trip out west. Probably I'll get the audio recorded while I'm in the trailer or out in the hotel next week. I'm trying to get the script done tonight. Else we got coming up? I got, of course, this podcast. I don't know. I was thinking about doing a bored Wookie wander in the parking lots vlog. Yeah, I'll probably try to squeeze that out later this week. Way too much junk food this week. Yeah. As I try to wind things down for get this next Wookie drives, and I really need to find the time to get another one filmed. I got some options on the table, so see what goes from there. Really trying to I've done a lot of real new cars as of late, so I got some options for some older 90s, 80s, 90s turds, which is kind of like my bread and butter. But a lot of that stuff has to wait till winter just because of scheduling. But hey, anything's possible. And then, of course, when I'm out west in November, I'm looking at using an app called Turo, which is kind of like Airbnb for cars, and there's a lot of fantastic stuff on there. So I'm gonna see if I can rent something funky and unique for the day, and then have fun with it for the day. Get a lot of good filming out for that day. But yeah, that stuff coming down for the car related stuff kind of months in advance. Basically, next week, probably don't expect a podcast, mostly because it's going to be Monday afternoon before I get back with the trailer. So I'm not going to have any time to record one, and I'm not going to feel like recording one. So probably we'll have a week off next week on the podcast, unfortunately. But after Richmond, expect to get back the schedule to get back on normal mode. And that's all I really got. Thank you for listening. It's been another episode of the Wookie Automotive Racin Ramblin podcast. If you got any questions, just leave them in the comments section on the YouTube page or of the upload for this. I'll be sure to answer them on the next episode. And any feedback's great. I know this is kind of been a crappy one, but here I am rambling on. It's the namesake for the show. So let me finish this up. Goodbye.
Let's talk fun. Let's talk Jeep Wrangler. Let's talk lots of fun. Hey, let's talk lease. Enough talk. Go to your local Jeep and Eagle dealer and test drive one. It's the least we can do for you.